And the connection that we have is through the fellowship of the Spirit. And so with that being said, I get to introduce my friend, Ralph White.
My name is Ralph White. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. And thank you for letting me off the hook, which is what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. Leslie was particularly listening when you said that, because that is one of my glaring character defects. You know, somebody say something, hey, okay, and I'm gone. Leslie said, because Leslie is a chatterbox. You know, if you grab her, she's standing there. And she'll be like, Rob, did you see they were still there? And I'm like, you know, I'm in my own world. Self-absorbed, self-centered. You mean there was somebody else there? I'll be up in the room. There was somebody else. You know, that's what 37 years of sobriety was like, you know. Oh, this guy. Not on everybody. On this guy. My sobriety date is October 11th, 1986. I've been with you 37 years. I turned 70 years old a few months ago, so I've been with you more than half my life. And it seems to me, that I'm at my very best in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And interestingly, I get transformed. I want to thank the committee. I think it was Jay, it might have been Brandon last night that said, Ralph is the guy that steps, and as I was thinking about that, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to ever be a time when they intentionally get me up here. It was like, this is the guy we count on to fill in. I'm like, oh, okay, you ain't never with intent. Dude, just saying. But I'd like to thank the committee for trusting me. When you go to a conference and you get one of these people up in front and they start sharing and you really ain't feeling them and you don't feel like listening and you want to complain about the speaker, don't complain about the speaker. The speaker got what he got. You know, that's all they got. When they get up in front, they can't bring something magically that they don't already have. So what you do, you blame the speaker seeker. Because he knows, you blame him. They knew who I was when they brought me. You know, so Brandon, Jay, and the rest of them, that's who you know, because I got what I got, you guys. And being with you all these many years does not make me an authority on Alcoholics Anonymous. Does not make me an expert on the 12 steps in Alcoholics Anonymous. By no means makes me a spokesman for Alcoholics Anonymous. When my friend Joe C. out of Florida, I steal it from him because it's my sentiment too. It does make me a happy customer. And I like to talk about it. And I am one. I'm still absolutely fascinated by Alcoholics Anonymous. If I have a gift, and my sponsor, who is Bobby out of St. Paul, Minnesota, he often says the same thing. If I have any gifts that have allowed me to stay here, it is that I found you guys fascinating from the moment I landed here to stay. I've always found you interesting. You know, that's not everybody's experience, so it's a gift. Some people don't find us interesting when they first meet us. Some people find us intimidating. Some people find us lame. Some people find us a little off-putting. Some people find us, you know, what I thought in 1985 when I first came. When you read Bill's story, you know, and he was at his damn near his last surrender, right? And when you read a story, and those of us those of you who read the book, you know Bill's a drama queen, right? So he be over the top with some stuff. So he was writing and he says, there I was to join that endless procession of sights, and he so okay, that's what I felt like in 1985 when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous. There I was to join the endless procession of squares and lanes and people who sing happy birthday and people who do no cussing, no chasing, no having no fun, nothing I like to do. That's what it seemed. It seemed gray, it seemed colorless, it seemed empty. It did not seem anything like what we talked about in our chapter of Vision for You. I did not know my imagination would be fire. I did not know it would be these fantastic stories. But when I came in 1986 under the lash of alcoholism, and I found you guys absolutely interesting, I got to admit something to you. I heard one of the speakers talk about the gift of desperation, and I came with that gift, and it is a gift, that gift of desperation. But I got a confession. 37 years later, I don't have that same desperation. It has not been what has bound me to you for these last number of years. I came out of desperation, but what holds me and what has kept me and what continues to keep me and fire me is I'm here out of inspiration. Got a boy right here, the violence. He heard I was going to be here. He said, Spence, I'm going to meet you there. You inspire me. I see my girl, the crew right there. Stella, Diane, T. You inspire me. I saw them when they came in. You called me on the phone and you said, Ralph, it was so good. You inspired me. Red, when you picked us up at the airport, and I was like, because my memory's bad. He's standing at the car. I said, say, man, I know. He said, yeah, I picked you up last year. And then me and Leslie was like, and he was like, you inspire me, dude. You inspire me. And so I am one, there are lots of things we talk, and the speakers, I'm a speaker junkie. Me and Ken is my boy. Ken is like family to me, and that's saying a lot. A lot of people come to Alcoholics Anonymous and get the benefit of getting a family. I'm a double win. I consider myself extremely blessed because I got a tight family. That's my own family. That's my nuclear family. 4 of us are here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I have a family. And I have another family, that I've gotten as a result of being with you guys. As tight as my own family, and Kent is one of those. Me and Kent been rolling a long time. And we don't talk to each other in quote language we talk like two guys, in real life, in real time. And that's what I've been given as a result of coming to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a listener. I'm a sponge. I'm still a seeker. Me and Ken talked about some years back. We were at a speaker jam. We were at this jam, and they had a gang of speakers for 3 or 4 days straight, and nobody saw every speaker but me and Ken. Because we the people when you go to the spot. See, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous. But I like the analogy, So don't get offended. I just use this analogy. I'm one that don't never leave when dope is still on the table. So when a convention is going on, you won't find me leaving if it's still some speaking. I'm there. If the recovery is still good, and I like mine with no cut on it, I like mine with no chaser, I like mine like we get it in I'm there. I'm that guy. And so me and Kim, we was like posting. People were leaving and I'm still posting. So that's what I saw you, Red, when you came up in here and you brought it Thursday night. I like those stories. Man, where you gonna find another? As a kid, me, my brother Ronnie, and my brother Reggie, we were stair steps, right? And we grew up on 108th and Central in the heart of Watts. I'm a kid from Watts in the 60s, right? And we were guys, right? And we were guys that lived in the library. I met a sister here that's a librarian. Oh my God, my heart's up, like, be still. That took me back, because that's my roots, man. I'm a square guy. I'm a shy guy. I'm a scary guy. I'm from a tough town, but I'm not a tough guy. I'm a guy that went to the library, so me and my brothers would be walking like that. And we were raised, coming from that kind of background. And so it was a sister here. It was so good for me to meet you. But where are you going to find better stories than you find in Alcoholics Anonymous? What? I was built for this. I was made for y'all. You know, I was already living one day at a time before I got here. I was already in rooms like this with people like you. They just didn't have no electricity in the rooms I was in. You know, they had room temperature, you know, water in the refrigerator. They wasn't saying keep coming back when you run out of money. It's like get your clothes filling ass up out of here, you know. But I was already living rooms like this, people like you. I was living one day at a time. I already was fascinated by your stories, you know. And I don't mean to be irreverent, but you know, I grew up in church, and I grew up in a church background. You know, my mom, just like him, a strong sister. It was one of the speakers, Al. Al talked about being raised Southern Baptist. I'm in Los Angeles, California. Believe it or not, Al, there's a lot of Southern Baptists in Los Angeles, California. A lot of folk migrated to Los Angeles from other spots. And my granddaddy was a founder of the church that I grew up in at first, Southern Baptist Church. And so my grandmother and my mom, you know, and so I'm raised in church. I would go all over the place. You guys can already tell it now. And that's not normally my get down, you know, because I'm a linear thinker. So normally I'm pretty chronological in how I tell my story. That's how I think. So it comes out like that. But we get what we get today. And so we grew up in church, you know, and so I grew up in church, right? And my mom was strong in church. But I wasn't getting it like the church folk get it, right? Thee and thou and thee, you know. So when I hit you guys, and like I say, I'm trying not to be irreverent. But I'm telling you my story. I'm telling you how this thing presented itself and manifested itself in my life. And for me, you know, the comfort of hearing shit and God in the same sentence, that works. You know what I'm saying? That just works. I'm not comfortable. No offense. I know we got some church, because we down here in the South, so we Bible belt tight. You know what I'm saying? So I know it, but I'm not one of them guys. But man, when I discovered what it is, you guys, me and Leslie were listening to a tape the other night of a guy that I had the opportunity to meet. I was on a platform with him many years ago. Giant now, Alcoholics Anonymous. A lot of people, you know, may not have heard about it. If you ever get a chance to listen to Clint Hodges, I want you to take and listen to that gentleman. And Clint H was talking, and he talked about, you know, he was talking about Bill Wilson when Bill Wilson had his first experience at Winchester Cathedral, right? And Bill talked about much moved. And he was talking about the dive road, that sidebar. But he talked about when he was at Winchester Cathedral and the sense of his presence came. When Ebby Thatcher visited Bill Wilson again in the hospital, and Ebby was talking to Bill, Bill said he remembered the experience of Winchester Cathedral, right? He had one, you know, there had been a need, no one forgot, and he had come, right? He had come. I don't want to forget. And he talked about the visit to Winchester Cathedral, and what took me to the next level, because I'm in Winchester. This is my cathedral. This is where he comes. I humbly asked him, and he came. But here's the interesting thing. He said God's impact on most men was sudden and great, but on him, it was sudden and profound. You know, and that's what Bill Wilson wrote in this book. And so most of us go to the appendix and we talk about how it's gradual and educational variety. And for years, I've been thinking to myself that God's impact on me has been very gradual, kind of like drip. And then I look back. But when he talked about it in his talk, and he made it come alive for me, because on October the 10th, 1986, I couldn't put it down. I started drinking when I was 18 years old, which is late in Alcoholics Anonymous. In 1971, when I went off to college, I started drinking. And I consistently was going hard in the paint and that was in 1971, all the way up until October the 10th, 1986. I seemed like I couldn't put it down. Something happened on October 11th, 1986, and I haven't picked it up. Sudden and profound. It don't feel sudden and profound, because when it's happening, you don't know it. You don't know that's your day. You don't know you're walking in the grace. You don't know you've been touched. You don't know that you've gotten it. You don't know that something has entered into you in a way that's way beyond you. You don't know it till you look back on it. You know, a spiritual experience is a rearview mirror experience. There is no date or an appointment for recovery. You know, I can't say, oh, on October the 11th, you know, I think that's going to, nothing. Ken talked about it too. You know, I didn't know that was my date. I didn't know that was my divine appointment. I didn't know that was my sudden and profound. But something happened bigger than me. We've talked about it this weekend. We've tried to give voice to it. We do the best we can in that effort. You know, because what we do in a weekend like this, and you bring us and trot us here, person after person after person. And what we try to do as best we can is give voice to that for which there are no words. You don't put grace in words. So we tell our stories. That's the language of spirituality. We tell our stories. Now, for me, that is how I get it the best. We do it in a lot of various ways. We got a lot of teachers and Alcoholics, and that's cool. You know, I think it's two categories of speakers. Actually, it's more than that, but I break them down into two. One of them is head share. I'm cool with head shares because I'm a figure out guy. I think I'm a smart guy. I'm an intellectual guy. I like figuring out, you know. But a head share, every now and then, you know, they be up here pulling, but you know, every now and then they feel like finger in my face. Get your finger out of my face. Stop. I'm not that guy. And then you get heart share. You get the heart share. A brother in my first home, brother named Brother, used to say, when heart speaks, heart hears. And in Alcoholics Anonymous, we speak the language of the heart, and we hear you. We feel you. We live you. So Red, when you put the pistol in your mouth and you took it out, you put the pistol to your temple and you took it away, I was sitting on my seat like I'm watching TV. Is he going to do it? Now he's standing here. I know he was. You know what I'm saying? I'm all up in it. If Red shoot himself and they, you know, but he's standing here telling the story completely. You know, we know one of the outcomes that didn't happen, but I'm invested, right? Red say he put it to his chest, bam. I'm like, woohoo. Oh my God, I want to see it again. So I want to be here for the Red story. I'm binge watching. Leslie says she binge watching her own stuff. Big Red, I'm binge watching. You know, when you were Cassandra and Sam, I want to know what happened to Sam. Last year, Sam was 2. When we came back, Sam was 3. I want to know when I got with Ken, what's going on with the girls? You know, if you done signed up for Alcoholics Anonymous, you may not know what you signed up for. You may think that you just came up in here to get it off you. You may think you came up in here to get that gorilla off the block. You may think you came up in here to get a key to a house again. You may think you came up in here to get that PO off your back. You may think you came up in here to get that paper signed because I got to go back up. We don't care why you came up in here. It's why you stay up in here. And you might catch alcoholism. You just might catch it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we pray that you stop. But if you don't, we like you anyway. You know, we ain't tripping. You know, come on up in here. You know, I was in the 60s. My mom was a welfare mom, and my old man was alcoholic. And my earliest memory of him was he was alcoholic, and I didn't want to be like him. He got put out the house when I was 8 or 9 years old. Mom started raising these 6 boys by herself. When I was growing up and watched, my mama was on welfare. She was a domestic. She washing and she took in clothes that she washed and ironed for other folk. She would take 3 buses to the valley. And I was talking to moms not too long ago because mom stays with me. We stay together. My mom is 93 years old. She's still alive. Greatest example of spiritual living that I know. Much of what I talk about, and we've had people talk about parents. Lindsay did a lot of talking about her parents and her story. Kent was, and Leslie said, if Kent told his mama I broke, and see, I know his mama was a powerhouse. You know, I'd have one of them shoes up the side of my head. Mama, I broke. Oh, you broke me? We gonna see, bro. You know, Kent is a mess. You know, I'm just saying. You know. But so moms is raising these 6 boys. You know, and when you grown, You look back on your life because I had a hell of a mom. Look how she sacrificed to raise her boys. But when you were a kid, about 9 to 10 years old, and you bring a couple of partners home from school on a Wednesday afternoon, and mom's is in the living room with an ironing board up and a rag on her head, you don't feel proud. You feel ashamed and embarrassed, and you stop bringing partners home from school. And if your name is Ralph, you start living in the prison I've lived in much of my life. And that's the prison of what I think you think about me. I don't know what you think about me. I'm trapped in what I think you think about me. And I will do whatever it takes to shape and form and mold your opinion around. I'll whine you, I'll dine you, I'll woo you, I'll tie you, I'll boogie you, I'll manipulate you, I'll buy you. Please like me. I don't particularly have to like your ass, but please like growing up like that, and so we're storytellers for a couple of reasons. It's a couple of places that are instructive in the book about how we share at meetings and the most effective way. It ain't no rules about it. People share stuff, and I like the fact that people share and piss me off. I like it. I love that about our fellowship, and I love that about our society. It's much that you do that I can't stand, but damn it, I will defend your right to do it. It's more that I will defend your right to piss Ralph off. It is a hallmark and it is a foundation of the room. There's people that be like, them meetings over there, they discuss me. Yeah, absolutely. And they got the right because the meetings are full. Somebody in there is getting so. I am so happy that everything ain't Ralph's way. I wouldn't be with me. That's number one. I wouldn't be with me. That's who's with me is with me because I need somebody opposite me. To me, I'm dull. I'm judgmental. I'm straight-laced. I got kind of, I'm kind of boring. So I need some. But let me get back to my point. I don't want to be self-flagellating too long. You know what I'm saying? Somebody might believe it. I'm just putting it out there for the humility point. I ain't really feeling it. Stop. So I'm growing up like that, and we're still. It's two places really that really talk about what we do when we share. One of them, all of us hear it all the time. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we like now, right? What I used to be like, and that's the story. That's the identification. That's my hook. That's that. And all of us, there's a rhythm to listening in Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a rhythm. There are body parts that need to be trained in Alcoholics Anonymous. I train my ears. I need to learn to listen so I can listen to learn, right? I train my feet because recovery is centered in my feet, and I get here because my behind is raw. That's where surrender happens. So it's body parts that are in play here too, and so that listening, the storytelling, the identification, our stories disclosed in the general, but I used to be like, what happened? And the art of it, there's a rhythm when you listen to stories in Alcoholics Anonymous. The first part is all over the place. You hear people like Red shooting himself in the chest, You hear people like Lindsay, family was sitting up here looking at her. You were strange when, we don't know. And Lindsay believing stuff about herself that wasn't even true when she talked to her daddy. That kind of, I listen to the story. I'm a listener, it blows me away. Then you get the renegades like Kent said, he up to here, 7 DUIs. And then you get the dull square guys like Ralph. Square, slow, 18 years old before he takes his first drink, scared of girls, you bring over extra quarter with him so the guys just jumping on drink quarter, all that kind of stuff. You get those stories, and then you get the housewife, and you get the people in the club. You get Leslie's story, the Hollywood mom, and so we're all over the place in our stories, right? Some of them are exciting, some of them are hard rock, some of them are, but some of them are all over. But then you get to what happened. So almost all of us in that song that is our story, we hit that refrain. And that refrain almost all of us have. Thrill is gone, You know, I'm singing the blues. And the blues last longer for some people than other people, but almost all of us get the Ain't No Sunshine. And we be there for a minute, right? What happened? You know, and I like the what happened. I like the somebody knocked on the door and threw all my stuff on the front lawn. I like the police came and walked me out like this. I like the what happened. And we laugh at the what happened. When you're new, it ain't funny because you into what happened. When you into what happened, it ain't funny and it ain't fun and it ain't it ain't nothing like that. You know, when you end the what happened. When you in the car going to treatment with your brother and saying, if you ain't got 200, you going all the way up in your car. You know, it ain't nothing funny about that. But we laugh and we like it because we know what happens with the what happened. We know what's getting ready to happen after that. You're getting ready to come to us. And see, I'm a sucker for a happy ending. I know when you come to us, something's going to happen. You don't know. It's somebody in here that may be new right now. You know, you ain't feeling it. It ain't nothing fun. You know, you ain't laughing. You don't know why people clapping when you got your... So Ken said something interesting. He said, we've been these spiritual principles that we are practicing are ancient. And they've been practicing them for a long time. And they've been doing the right thing for the right reason without expecting any applause whatsoever. And that part you got, that's very true. My mama, you know, if I was telling her I've been so far, stand, you know that they. But the thing about it is, the alcoholic life becomes the only normal one for folk like us. So for folk like us, the normal rules don't apply. So for folk like us, when we go 30 days without a drink, we do want applause and we do want a parade, and we give you one. We give you chips and we clap and we say, good job. Because we know for folk like us, the alcoholic life has become the only normal one. We know for folk like us, we need some encouragement. We know for folk like us, we need a good job because it's been a long time since anybody encouraged me. It's been a long time since I got anything other than that look of disgust. It's been a long time since anybody said, come on up in here. It's been a long time. And Leslie was sharing about being a lighthouse and being a hugger and hugging the pain and the hurt away. It's been a long, long time since anybody hugged me for real outside in a motel room when we got some transaction going on. But I ain't felt real human companionship in a long, long time. Oh, and I meet you guys. Game changer. Game changer. Stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, what we like now. And then it says each speaker in his own language and from his own point of view shares how he established this relationship with. That's what we do. And it don't sound like it to some people. This dude up here, he all over. It don't sound. Each person in his own language. Sometimes I don't like that. And we grow. We grow. Me and Kim was somewhere, you know, we was at a spot years ago. You know, and my brother Ronnie was there, and we were talking on the panel, and Ronnie just tore it up there. They just tore it up. And then in the speaker line, this old dude, Kent's neck of the woods, Don C. He comes up to Ronnie and it would have been a good talk, but you could have used a little less of that language. And me and Ronnie and Kent were young Turks, and we was like, why he hating on Ronnie like that? You know, Ronnie said, because Ronnie ain't cussing a whole lot in this talk, just like I don't put Ronnie through something out there. And in Akron, we were in Columbus or Cleveland, and the dude stepped to Ronnie. Oh, I don't know where these stories coming from. But dude stepped to Ronnie, and he was like, man, and we were young Turks, right? And so we were standing on the right to be however the books, and then we quoted the book of the dude that was there when we was out in the streets. He was up in there all the time out here killing newcomers. Killing newcomers. He the one kept the door open for you. But you know, we now knew in the book, and we young Turks, and we using the book to weaponize it, right? Right? Weaponize it to stand on, our right to be, and you got the right to be right, but do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? Do you want to be, but you mature into that. You mature into that. So me, Ronnie, Ken, at that time, we wasn't wrong. We was young guys on fire, and we just, we coming from the era we come from, where old folk, you need to move over. You can't tell us nothing. We know, and that's life anyway. Ain't that just how life is? And life in Alcoholics Anonymous mirrors life in the real world. If you raise teenagers, you already know that. So you do that in AA too. You get into the book for the first now. And can't nobody tell you nothing, and them old timers, they trying to, they hating on you, and so, but you mature into that, and so it talks about in your own language and from your own point of view. But the thing I get the most out of you guys telling us your stories is this: it's our mugshot. I think that it is the most powerful part of our program. And I'm a 12-step guy. I'm a book guy. But there's a guy that I'd rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. And there are some things they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. When you see somebody standing up here in front of us, when you see that young man, Red, he stands up here. Forget coming up here and giving us a big book workshop. Forget coming up here and giving us page line. When that young man stands up here and says, I was sleeping up under a bridge. When that young man says, I was a guy that was that I was so at the end of my rope. I've been bouncing in and out of here for years. I can't seem to get it. Life had no meaning for me. And he stands up here and he's in front of us right now, and he's bright and he's shining and he's a beacon of hope, and he's in service at that table back there. And the thing about it that's so powerful, you guys, for me, when you guys stand in front of me and the person that's telling the story is not the person that's in the story. Isn't that amazing? The person that's telling the story is not the person that's in the story. I met a lady. She's my girl's grant sponsor, Miss Betty. And I met her, and she's a lady of dignity, and she's a lady of class, and I'm looking at her, and my temptation is to say, Miss Betty, what you doing up in here with us? Because she looked like somebody that's just warm, and I just like to sit up and just. But I bet when she gets to this podium and start talking, I'll be like, Miss Betty, don't you leave us. You know what I'm saying? The power of the power. And that's how we see the power. That's why we tell our story to God. It would be nice to say, I'm going to run up in here and but see, I've been wearing suits all my life. So the fact I'm dressed up in a suit right now, you don't know where I come from. You can't appreciate where I am right now if I don't tell you where I come from. That's what we tell our story. I mean, so my mama is on welfare, and I'm ashamed. And my mama go back to school at a certain point, go back to high school, get a high school GED. She go to junior college. She goes to Cal State LA, and she graduates from college same year as my younger brother Ronnie. My mama goes on to have a long and distinguished career in the insurance field. And my mama was an example to me that you can do and be whatever it is you want to be. Some of you guys didn't grow up and didn't have I'd like to call it the privilege of growing up. And for me, one of the most exciting eras we had, the 60s and the 70s. It was a very optimistic time. It was a hopeful time. And so I was a guy that grew up in that time. And I had dreams, goals, hopes, and ambitions. My first goal was I was going to be the first black president of the United States. And folk in here laughed. They didn't laugh in my neighborhood, in my community, because in the 60s, stuff was possible. You dream. And so what? He probably ain't going to make that. But if he dreams about that, if he aims for that, he going to do something. And you need to grow up in the 60s. It was a change in interpretation. And I was always class president, student body president, straight A student, teacher's pet. I'm going to make it happen, God. I'm a high achieving guy. I'm going to make my mama proud, God. I'm written up in the paper, God. I'm first kid off the block to go to college. I'm that guy, right? But I'm scared guy too. It's interesting to me when we hear the people come up and share, and you guys were getting up to the podium, and everybody that gets up to the podium shares, that there's something that distinguishes me from other folk. I seem to feel like I'm different from other people and from normal people. And what came to me is, I wonder if there is a normal person. A lot of what we talk about is alcoholism, and a lot of our friends get up here and we think that's a description of alcoholism. There's this sense of alienation, this sense of isolation, this sense of this feeling of abandonment and rejection, and a lot of that. I don't know if a lot of that is not just a human condition. I've been in life a long time. I've been in a lot of circles of life. I've talked to a lot of young men and women that are not alcoholic, that suffer the same, but the difference with us is what I use to treat those feelings. Different, so I don't mistake that for alcoholism. I hear a lot of people say I was alcoholic, but a component of alcoholism is alcohol. That's a pretty critical component. The rest is psyche. There's plenty of people that have this other stuff. But anyway, when I was thinking about that, the reason it rang home to me was it hit me. If you had looked at me in the 7th and 8th and 9th grade, you would have said, he's in the in crowd. I've been telling narratives from the podiums for a long time that I've always, and the narrative is true. I've always felt apart. I've always felt less than. I've always felt, but I felt less than and better than. I have both of those things working. Sometimes at the same time. I rolled with some cats, and they hard dudes, and they and I'm like, man, these cats right here, they ain't got my brain power. They can't operate like me. They ain't slick as me. But then I feel less than, they'll whoop my ass. They more man than me, though. So I got, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody else, because more than one thing can be true at the same time. So I'm feeling superior and inferior in the same transaction with somebody. That's how I'm built. So, but I was thinking, you guys, when you talk about this definition of alcoholism, for a kid like me, I grew up and people would have looked at me and said, he's in the in crowd. So I started drinking at 18 years old when I go off to college, and this is 1971. I'm drinking Annie Greensprings, Boone's Farm, Yago, Tyrolia, Spinata, Brass Monkey. What youngsters drink, and I'm drinking some rum and coke and some tequila. I love me some Jose. Southern Comfort was my drink when I'm mixing drinks. Gin and Rose's lime juice was my staple. And so I'm drinking, smoking commercial weed. I'm doing what you do in the 70s, but I suffer from something that's progressive in nature. So in 71, I'm drinking like that. In 72, I'm smoking commercial weed. I have a story about how the alcoholic life became the normal one. You guys remember I told you I wanted to be the first black president of the United States, but the alcoholic life becoming the only normal life, it happens. It creeps, but it's sudden too. See, I'm one that I was in the regression of alcoholism. We had some of our speakers talk about from the very first drink they were gone. That's not my story. That's why we tell our stories. We're all over the place. My story is the normal progression. When I was a freshman, I remember drinking on the weekends. I remember then the weekend slowly starting to start on Thursday and end on Monday. And next thing you know, the weekend but it crept on me, right? I didn't know. And so I'm drinking. 71, I start smoking herbs. I don't know how to roll herbs, so I only could smoke when I was with people. I got this roller. I got this red roller, very embarrassing. And I would roll in my dorm room by myself to practice, right? Put them two yellow zigzags together. Stick with me. This Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the most illustrative story I have to show you how this thing worked on rap and how it got in my life. So, I'm smoking weed and I have this red roller. That's embarrassing. I can't do it in public. I only do it by myself. I had one of my boys in my crew though, and he could roll a joint, one paper, one hand, right? So I'm wondering, my goal when I was 16 was to be the first black president of the United States. That's my goal when I'm 16. By the time I turned 19, my sophomore year in college, my goal became, I want to be able to roll a J. One paper, one hand. First black president of the United States. 1 year in the drinking, one paper, one hand. Alcoholic life seems only normal. I'm in it. I'm in it. Because I'm a guy, I'm built for Alcoholics Anonymous in a lot of ways. Because the way that I'm built in life, I'm an all-in guy. I'm not a fringe guy. I'm not a hanging on the side guy. When I'm in it, I'm in it. So when I'm in the life, they used to say, we used to say, scared get you busted. And I'm not a hard guy. I'm not a penitentiary, but I'm an alcoholic. And it's got me, and it's got your boy. And I'm taking penitentiary chances, and I'm running with people. But see, I'm not running with sordid people yet. On the front end, I'm running with the people that's up my alley, because I'm an image guy. So I'm running with people that we were going to see play in the NFL on Sundays. I'm running with people we're going to see in the association during the week. I'm running with people who are going to be political leaders in my town, in my state, in this country. Running with people who are going to be captains in the industry, and I'm going to be one of them, right? I'm going to be one of them. Just like in this story, I was a national mayor. I'm up here, I'm this high achieving guy, and so I'm rolling. But this thing do what it do. I'm described in our chapter there as a solution in the paragraph that says, but what about the real alcoholic? I don't know, that's me. I think I'm in the paragraph right before it that talks about the heavy drinker, given a sufficient reason to stop or moderate. When I started having some losses in the 70s, I said to myself, I remember, I'm going to have to slow this thing. When I come through this phase, I'm going to slow it down, because I knew I was in this college phase. I'm young. I'm going to grow up. When I grow out, I'll grow this phase. I'm going to slow it down. I ain't stopping. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to get a job. And when we graduated from college, they went to grad school, they started families, they started careers. I got that thing. I got that thing. And it took me for a ride, you guys. And it took me. And it had me. I always say I got it. The book talks about I'm in the grip of the progressive disease. It's got me. My friend Strange used to say, me getting loaded is like having sex with a gorilla. You ain't through till a gorilla is. So I ain't had it. It had me. It had your boy, and it got us. And so, we go up into the 80s. I get married. I have a family. I start working. I start rising in my field. I'm working in management in the law department of a major utility company. I get fired in 1983 or 84. I have a baby, and I get married in 1980. I have a daughter in 1983. In 1985, I get put out of my house. From 1985 to 86, I'm staying at my mama's house with my 5 brothers, and I'm walking the aimless walk at night. On a Sunday morning like this, you will find me in a couple of hours. Buzzer will be going off in a motel, and I gotta walk out of that motel one more time, and I want to shoot the birds for singing. And I look at couples, and I want to hit them upside the head for being happy. And I see people going to church, and it irritates me to no end. And it reminds me of a kid on 100 acres walking up the street to church. What happened to him? And I'm drinking to stop from thinking about where drinking is taking. Talk about the effect produced. I'm no longer there. I'm drinking for oblivion. I'm drinking to blot it out. No more fun and games. No more New Year's Eve parties. No more party hats. No more red onion partying at happy hour. No more going to the speakeasy and sending drinks to all the girls at Leslie's table with the cuties, and then ain't no more of that. I'm drinking. Stop from thinking about what drinking is taking. I don't know where my little girl was enrolled in school, and I don't know where my family is living. I've not answered anybody's 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock wake-up call to go to work in so long. I no longer thought I was employed. Sleeping in the back of my mother's garage eat lemons off a neighbor's lemon tree for breakfast, and not looked at myself full face in the mirror in over a year. That's the condition you found me in, October of 1986. For many of us, till we reach a room like this, I wouldn't know grace if it's loud. So I don't recognize grace. When I get here with you guys, I see it everywhere. I see it all the time. And in the big, my friend Donnell says, in the small things and in the large, in all the details, I see grace. But when you're in the light, you don't recognize it. And grace don't always look like grace when you're in the light. On the night of October the 10th, 1986, Grace looked like two young gangbangers with their pants sagging. Who'd have thought Grace would have saggy pants? And accosted me on the street. Result of that interaction resulted in me dodging a black truck the morning of October the 11th, 1986. And I knocked on my mama's back door. And I told her what I thought was a lie at the time. Mom, if you let me in the house, promise I'll go up in that treatment facility where Ronnie is. My brother Ron had been in treatment for about 80 days. Mom didn't trust me. We pulled out the yellow pages. We found the phone number to the Harbor Life Center. They called up there. We called up there and they located Ronnie. Ronnie told Mom they got a bed for me. Ronnie got excited. He didn't know I was dragging. Ronnie just got excited. Want a bed? I know we can get a bed for you up here. Here's where grace comes in. See, that youngster who I was hiding from that weekend, I sucked on his pistol. The business of surrender, you guys, the longer I'm here, the more amazed I am at this power. I discount it and I underrate it. I used to say I surrendered. I was surrendered. I'm not the surrendering kind. I don't stay surrendered. I have many times when I was in remorse. I'm done. I'm through. But give me 2 days. I'm back at it. But something happened. Something entered your boy. In Fred's story, I think, Fred said, these proposals that the AA people were given, he said they seemed drastic, but the moment he decided to accept them, he had the curious sensation that his alcoholic problem had been lifted, as it proved to be. The moment I went into the Harbor Life Center, I had the curious sensation I had taken my last drink. So I go up in there, you guys, and my life has not been mine. And I started doing what it is that you guys do. I was in the Harbor Light, and I started going to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous about 30 days in. And I was 33 years old. Giving up on life. Started going to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous in 9604 South Figueroa, South Central Los Angeles. And I met some men and women. Interesting thing is, you could substitute the name of my club pretty much for any club all over the world. Some of you walked into your club, same way I walked into 9604 South Figueroa. And I met some men and women. They armed me with one of the first spiritual principles. Don't sound like a spiritual principle. One of the first ones that has held me to this day. Get in the car. We used to go to the steakhouse at the end of meetings back in 1987. And they would say, Ralph, do you want to go? Somebody might say, my stomach would be grumbling. I might be hungry, but I don't want to get in the car. I want to, but I'm scared to. It's been a long time since I've been with real people. socially awkward. Don't know what to say. I'm less than you. I don't have nothing yet. See, I'm still coming in here. I don't know AA. I know the street. I know street currency. I don't know nothing about altruistic movement. I don't know nothing about something. It's always tit for tat. What can I get? Who's got this? How do you look? I ain't been with women wearing perfume. I ain't been with guys that's talking about something for real. I don't know the company of people like that. And I know you good people don't want to spend your time with something like me. Because I don't know in Alcoholics Anonymous, you've been new. So you know what I'm feeling. I don't know that. So I say, I don't know if I want to go. Because I know the big fear is going to kick me in at the end of the night. At the end of the night at the steakhouse, they're going to send the bill out. And everybody going to go in their pocket a piece of it. I don't have the money. But you've been new. I didn't know you've been new. You already know that. And before we get to the steakhouse, roll away. Yeah, man. Elvis, one of them brothers will pull me to the side and say, "Rap, when we get there, get whatever." They would say, "I got you." And they would leave me my dignity and wouldn't wait till we got to the steakhouse, and they wouldn't have to floss and say, "Oh, I got the newcomer." They say, "I got you." And it seems to me Alcoholics Anonymous has been telling me, "Ralph, I got you." 37 years. I got you. So Ronnie was here. Shortly after I came, Brother Reggie came. And then on Christmas Day of 1987, my brother Rod came. 4 of us. I was embarrassed when Rod came. I didn't know Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't know my fellowship. I didn't know this way of life. I didn't know this ain't fun and game. This how I live. This ain't homework. I didn't know. I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. I'm self-absorbed. I'm still pretty much, what does this look like for me? It's embarrassing. We had triplets in my fellowship at home. Everybody from LA know the trips, and we had triplets. So me, Ronnie, and Rhett, we okay. But God damn it, 4? What kind of family is that? I was real stuck in how I thought I looked, guys. I didn't know that in Alcoholics Anonymous, people that's here, we revel in that. We just applaud that. We think it's the best. If it's 4 of y'all that need to be here, God damn it, it's good that 4 of you are here. But I was still so stuck. God's gonna make me look bad showing up. Oh, but when grace gets you, it'll do something with you, inspire yourself. Because when my brother stepped to me, my baby brother, when Rod stepped to me, in spite of that, I tasted what it is at Alcoholics Anonymous. I had tasted this way of life. And I picked him up on Christmas Day of 1987, brought him to my mama's house. And Rod was tore up. And this past Christmas, Rod celebrated 36 years of sobriety. My mom was 93 years old, you guys. And I don't talk about her. I talk about her. But Al was talking the other day when he was doing the Al-Anon talk. And he talked about when he looked at his wife, his ex-wife, when she was dropping off the kids and the effort it took for her. And he talked about what he looked like. And when I was listening to him, being the representative on the other side of us, I realized the toll that we took, you know. So I came in here, you guys. James, give me a high sign when because I ain't paying no attention. So, thank you, sir. Um, so when I came in here, you guys came in, raised in church. First step was school. First step was, I didn't have a lot of difficulty with the first. I was still up. I was still up. You know, the physical part, I knew that when I put one in me, I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. I go to happy hour. I say, I'm just going to say the 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock comes, the waitress come around and say, you know, last call for happy hour. I say, bring me 9 gin gimlets. I'm like, wait a minute. I was planning to go home at that. So I knew that I spent all my paycheck every 2 weeks, even when I said I'm not going to. Once I started, I couldn't stop. Doctor's opinion said, Ralph had explained, even though I don't know what this allergy is medically and scientifically, it explained things for which I couldn't otherwise account. It explained why when I went and started, when I said I'm just going to spend 20, I spent the whole paycheck. I already knew something physically different about me. I also knew it was something that was bigger than me, because I would not intend to do some stuff. I had never tried to stop on my own, you guys, so that was harder for me to wrap my head around. But the mental obsession for Ralph was this. It got to the point where I was no longer in control of, I want to say my bank account. I didn't have a bank account. I was no longer in control of whether or not I was going to do it if opportunity presented. Now, if I'm in remorse, if it's Monday or Tuesday and I'm broke, I could go 2 or 3 days. But the minute money hit my hand, money low. Money low. And I was no longer in control of that. My mama trusted me, you know, for a minute, you know, because I was staying at the house. This is 1985, the year before I got sober. I was at her house and we were on the porch. And my mama said, Ralph, when you go across the street, there was a truck right across the street selling watermelons. And she said, go get me a melon. And she gave me $10, a safe amount of money to put in my hand at that time. She thought, and she could see me. And I went across the street and I got this thing that nobody else probably had. The thing I have is, if I don't see you, you don't see me. And so I go across the street and the truck is right here. I go on the truck, and my mom see me come out the other side of the truck, heading up the street, and I could hear her rap, but I don't see you, you don't see me. $10. 32 years old. My mama's golden boy. She used to stick her chest out. She would be at every school function. Boy of the year. Most likely to succeed. Most outstanding graduate. Every function. These are my boys. This is what has happened. $10. There he goes. And I didn't want to be that guy. But something bigger than me. It owned me, you guys. It owned me. This obsession. When my daughter was being born, I wanted to be at the hospital. But I stopped at the house first. My daughter was at the hospital. I'm supposed to go to the hospital. Me and Ronnie are at the house. And the bright idea. Now we got a house to ourselves. I didn't intend for that to happen, but everything for me was opportunity. Everything. So that second, so the first step was not hard. Didn't have to drive it. The second step was a little bit more problematic, you guys, because I was raised in church. And I was raised in the church. They told stories, fables, myths. Might as well be reading Jack and the Beanstalk. Daniel and the Lion's Den, Jonah. It seemed like fables, it seemed like stories. I was the guy sitting in the church pew in a Baptist church at a certain point in the proceedings. Apparently something comes through the church called the Holy Spirit. I never knew about it, but apparently it came because people would jump up and I'd be looking at my mama like, you better not jump up in here and embarrass me. 8 years old, right? So I came to you guys, the cynic, the skeptic, the scoffer. You gave me another name. You called me agnostic. You sent me to a Savannah. And when I get to that, the most interesting thing, you guys, about the second step experience for me, number one, under the last alcoholism, I wanted it. I no longer had a vested interest in there not being. I had a vested interest in there being a power. And here's the thing about going to meetings, you guys. We think, and they have slogan, meeting makers, then people getting recovery. Meeting makers, don't you heard Kent talk about it? That's stuff. But there are some things that take place in meetings, you guys, that we don't know about. We think that the thing about going to meetings, at least for me, I think that the thing that's going on when I go to meetings is I plant myself in a seat and I claim and I stake my claim to this place, and now I'm in the cathedral. I'm in the place where recovery, but something else is going on when I go to meetings. I don't realize I'm not just in a meeting for me. I'm an active participant in this symbiotic thing that we have going on that we all rely. I don't even know it. I don't even know it. You know how I took the second step? Your second step. Your third step. We think we're sitting up in a meeting right now. Every time somebody would get up to this podium, Alice would get up here and say, my name is Alice. Alcohol had its way with me. I found a power bigger than me. I ain't had a drink in 6 months. Kendra get up here and say, my name is Kendra. Alcohol had its way with me. I found a power bigger than me. I ain't had a drink in 18 months. Then Terry would get up here and say, my name is Teresa. Alcohol had its way with me. I found a power bigger than me. I ain't had a drink. And you second step. Evidence, the witness testimony. I wanted it too. I didn't know that that's what was happening. I didn't know that as you guys were getting up here sharing it, I'm like, God damn, they told their story. They looked like me. They went up in their mama's purse. They went up in they did the same things I did. They say they got this power. It ain't nothing else. You could have sat me in a Sunday school group. You could have sat me, but it ain't nothing like sitting in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, seeing the evidence. Seeing the witness testimony, seeing what happens when God touches you. And it seems to me, when you get touched by this power, you got to tell somebody. That's how you know the people that's been really going. You got to tell. You can't help it. You got to tell somebody. When grace comes calling, it's not a solitary adventure. And so the second and third step experience, sometimes we get confused when we talk about the power of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's how I get it. I'm getting primed for a fifth step. Do you know the reason why I could take a fifth step when it was time for me to take a fifth step? Because people were getting up to this podium saying some stuff that I'm like, are you serious with me right now? And you were saying it in public. You were saying it in public. And then you were doing the other piece, which appeals to a guy like me. When you get to 6 and 7 and it says, remove every defective character that stands in the way of my usefulness, it'll say, that sounds like a loophole. You mean some defects are used? Yes, some of them, God will use them. They're not useful because of me, but God will use them. And I was like, really? Really? And so when you guys get up here and you say these embarrassing things, here's the thing. People clap. I like people to clap. I like to get approval. I like to know that you guys are not going to laugh me out the rooms. And so you ease me into transparency. You ease me into being able to get up here and tell the truth. You ease me into getting up here and not sugarcoat. They let me go from work today. Wow. Made a fool out of myself again today. I got they took my house from me, 22 years old. I lost my marriage 20 in front of everybody. You ease me into it. Allow me. We don't do this by ourselves. So this is not a solitary deal. You hear a lot of people and a lot of members, a lot of the speakers have got up here and shared this weekend. And each and every one of them had something in common. And they shared about not being enough. Leslie was sharing about it last night. And why do you think that is? How many people in here have heard themselves say, you know what, I don't feel like enough? Have you ever heard yourself say that? Have you ever felt that way? And we will hear that is a common theme amongst our members. It occurs to me there's a reason for that. Because I ain't enough. I ain't never been intended to be enough. In and of myself, I'm not enough. I'm not designed to be a standalone unit. I'm designed to be plugged into a power. I'm not enough, but I am complete. I'm not enough, but I'm complete. I got everything I need. And so here's the chick, more than one thing can be true at the same time. This is the deal. It's not. I am not. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. No. You complete. Not that I don't have enough. No. I ain't enough in and of myself. That's why we do what we do. Lack of power is my dilemma. I don't have enough power. I run out of steam. I'm not a self-contained unit. I'm not on my own propulsion. So what we do when we come up in here and we hold hands in the circle and we do what it is that we do and we love on each other and we help each other and we support each other and we do the magic thing, that the most magical thing I think in our fellowship. If you haven't tasted, sponsor or being sponsored. I'm actively sponsored and I'm an active sponsor. And the reason why it is that I'm actively sponsored, because I get low spots with God. And if the alcoholic fails to enlarge and perfect his spiritual life through self-sacrifice and working with others, he can't survive. Working with others, it's good that you don't have to go looking for them when you hit a low spot. It's good always. So my default position is sponsoring. My default position is you. My default position is you do for me what I can't do for myself. Something happens when that transaction is bigger than us. You might get scared. I can't do it. I'm alone. It's not a two-person endeavor. How many times have you been sponsoring and you sponsor people? How many times have you heard something come out of your mouth you didn't know was in your mouth till it came out? God fills in the blank. I could be here all day. I was going to go somewhere else. James is giving me this. So you guys, I'm so grateful that they asked me to come in out the pool. I'm so grateful that they asked me to come in and to clean, and to just have an opportunity to be with you guys for this week. There's some wonderful energy in here. You guys, you show me some Southern hospitality, and I appreciate you. You'll never hear Ralph White say, I don't know why I'm sober. I know exactly why I'm sober. I get a blessing so that I can be a blessing. Recovery for me is a gift from God. What I do with my recovery, that's my gift to God. My name is Ralph White. I am an alcoholic.